right. How are you feeling?
Okay.
Okay, Mrs. Dandata, thank you very much for this opportunity. I appreciate your time and this interview. Well, I know you've had a busy day, so I'll try and keep the questions brief and to the point.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Zimbabwe, Luveve, Bulawayo, and I was born in Marondera.
Okay.
And I spent most of my time in Bulawayo. I attended my elementary school in Bulawayo, Luveve.
Okay.
And also did my high school in Bulawayo, Luveve High School.
Oh, okay.
And then from there, when I graduated my high school, I went to college. I did secretarial. And then from there, soon after finishing my college, I found my first job in Harare as a personal assistant.
Okay. What was life like when you were young?
When I was young, I had a fairly good life. Of course, I was raised by a single parent. And my mom was an elementary school teacher, and she was working out of town, and most of the times our grandmother used to take care of us.
Oh, okay.
And otherwise, I had a fair life. We were not struggling, but our life was fairly good.
Oh, okay. All right. So what motivates you as a person? What gets you excited about life, about waking up in the morning?
What motivates me right now is my family. I'm what I am because of my family. For example, my children. I go to work. When I look at them, I feel motivated to go to work.
That's awesome. That sounds good. And you seem like a very busy person, you know, between work and, you know, raising a family and being a wife. What do you do in your spare time?
That's a difficult question to answer because in my spare time, what I value most in my spare time is what is called me time. Like getting away from work, like especially when I get home and there's nobody, and then I try to rush to get things done, tidy the house, sometimes do a little bit of baking. That's a little bit of my spare time there. But otherwise, there isn't much interesting about my spare time because that's when I get to touch this and that, to do my errands and, you know, not much.
Would you say baking is one of your hobbies?
Yes, I love baking. I love trying new recipes.
Oh, okay. All right.
And my kids enjoy my baking.
They do?
Yes, especially when I make scones, when they're still hot coming out of the oven, taking them out from the oven. By the time I turn to check, they're all gone.
Well, that means you bake really well then, Mrs. Dandato. So what is the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome in your life?
Oh my gosh, the biggest obstacle that I overcame in my life, that was, for example, coming to Canada was one of my biggest, I won't say like it was a bad thing, no, but it was kind of like a cultural shock there and differences. I was used to be surrounded by majority of black people, and then here in Canada, black people are the minority. So that kind of put me in a spot, like I feel like everybody's looking at me.
Right, right.
Yes, but otherwise, that was the biggest challenge that I had: the food, the culture, and of course the English. Of course, in Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe is British colonized, so we speak English. And then here, the kind of English they speak is different. So for example, if I used to say water, and here they say water. And I was told to repeat my words most of the times, which was a little bit annoying.
Right, right.
That was okay.
So you say you grew up in Zimbabwe, and your biggest obstacle has been overcoming the cultural shock of being in Canada. How did you end up in Canada?
Actually, when we left Zimbabwe with my family, it was because of economical issues and political issues in my country. And when I left, it wasn't that bad, but you could see where it was going. And when we came to Canada, we found ourselves that we're safe and we're under good hands. And of course, Canada is very cold and Zimbabwe is very warm.
Yes.
That was the big difference. I felt I was robbed there of my weather, but I love the cold now. When it's too hot, I miss the snow, the -0.
You like shoveling the snow, do you?
I'm not a fan of that.
Okay. So, where have you lived in Canada?
In Canada, mainly I've lived in mainly in Ontario, and I've lived out west just for a few months, about 6 months. Of course, I didn't like it because it was too cold compared to this part of Canada in Ontario. And I love Ontario better than Alberta.
Oh, okay. So is that why you ended up back here?
Yes. Of course, I started in Ontario, and then we went out west in Alberta, seeking better opportunities, job-wise. Because when you're out there, when you see people telling you, "Oh, it's great and it's green," but when you get there, it's no longer green. It looks not what you expected.
Right.
Yes, so that's the reason why we ended up saying, you know what, the devil we know is much better.
Right.
So,
hence Ontario.
Yes, Ontario is my home.
Right. So what kind of jobs have you held in the past?
In the past, from the beginning, I was personal assistant back in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
And then I held a position as an accounts clerk. And then when I came to Canada, I worked as in the accounting department for almost 3 years. And then from there, I said, you know what, my passion is nursing. So I went to nursing school. And then in the nursing school, I didn't do like a diploma. I went to nursing aid, whereby I take care of the people. So that's what I did. It's called personal support worker.
Yes.
Doing care. That's what I did. And then I went to school, and then into nursing school, where I got my diploma as a registered practical nurse, of which this is what I am right now, registered practical nurse.
That's wonderful, Mrs. Dandato. How long have you been in the position?
I've been a registered practical nurse for 5 years now.
Okay.
Otherwise, as a whole, I've been in nursing for 11 years.
Wow, that's a long time. So have you always liked nursing?
Yes.
What brought that about?
Nursing was my passion. I will take you back to where I told you that I was brought up mainly by my grandmother.
Yes.
My grandmother, she was diabetic, and she got blind, and she got her toes amputated when we were young, and our mother was away, though she came home on weekends. So my mother was like a breadwinner. So we all survived by what she was making. So I learned to take care of my grandmother. It was me and my siblings, not just me by myself, me and my siblings, and with a maid at home. We used to help overall. When we would go to school, she would take care of our grandmother. So with my grandmother, I used to give her eye drops, used to take her for doctor's appointments, we used to take turns to miss school with my siblings.
Wow.
So you miss school, then you go with grandma to her appointments, and next time is someone else. And my grandmother was on insulin. As I told you, she had diabetes. So we were taught how to give insulin
Okay.
at a very young age. I knew how to give my grandmother insulin. And my grandmother, she was a nurse, so she would tell you what to do. She knew exactly what she wanted.
Right.
Yes, even if she was blind, she knew exactly how she wants her care to be done.
Okay. So would you say that this you taking care of your grandmother and what you do right now is almost similar in terms of the responsibilities and the duties?
It's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
It is very similar because it taught me how to be patient with the elderly.
Yes.
And also how to motivate the elderly, how to be like to feel they're loved,
Right.
to feel, make them enjoy that companion. Like as a family, we used to make sure that our grandmother is well taken care of. In as much as I do with my patients right now, I make sure when I'm there, they look at me as their daughter. They look at me as their caregiver.
Right.
They look at me as their worker.
Right.
Like I do sometimes prepare some meals. Of course, meals will be prepared already just to set it up for them. They look at me for that.
Right. That's interesting. So would you say that this job is very satisfactory?
To me, it is.
Right.
To me, it is.
And what brings the satisfaction?
To see my residents happy, clean, well groomed, and happy.
Right. Before the interview, you were saying how you've recently bought a house. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Was that one of your greatest accomplishments?
Yes, it was in my bucket list. But eventually, I want to be in my house.
Yes.
Yes, I had a house before in Zimbabwe, but when we came to Canada, it wasn't just like easy like that to get in before you work on your credit and you get a house. There's a series of steps that you have to take to get there.
Yes.
And that's where I am right now.
Okay. So this, as you mentioned, was one of your accomplishments, buying a house. Do you have two other accomplishments that you can add?
Of course, the other accomplishment was going to school.
Yes. That's a big one.
Yes, going to school and getting my nursing diploma, that was big for me. Yes.
Okay. Well, we're almost done with this interview, but just to conclude, because this piece here will be published for the Unpack magazine, which celebrates immigrants and refugees. So this piece is meant to motivate them, to show them that it is possible, regardless of where you're from, regardless of what you came with, you can make something of yourself. That's true. Do you have any last words of encouragement to newcomers who have come to this country? They're experiencing the cold, they're experiencing the changes that you mentioned. Do you have any words that can bring comfort and encouragement that one day it all shall be well?
Yes, I do. I do. Like for the newcomers here in Canada, all I tell you is don't compare what you had in your country and here. Because here they follow a different procedure, just like where you come from.
Yes.
And the other thing, you really have to be patient. Things are not going to work the way you want. For example, if you apply for a work permit, don't think by next week it will be out. No. When they say it will be there within 3 months, it is 3 months, and you have to be patient. Don't try to smarten up and look for under table jobs, because once you get caught and you don't want to be deported to your country.
Okay.
So you do what the Romans do and follow the procedures that if you want to get there.
And be patient.
Yes, and be patient. And Canada is cold. Make sure you dress warmly all the time when it's cold. You don't want that flu.
Yes. Yes, you don't.
We have things like flu shot here that you don't have back home there. So when they tell you that you need a flu shot, you really need it.
Okay.
Because when it's flu season, you don't want to be sick.
Yes. Well, Mrs. Danato, thank you very much for this honor. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate this interview.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. I appreciate it.